Segment relationships. After watching this video, I will be able to write proofs involving segment addition and congruence. So if you haven't done so already, you're going to need to refer to the segment addition postulate video in order to understand what segment addition is. But now we're going to use this idea of adding two line segments together in order to complete a geometric proof. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to look at what your given information is and use your picture to kind of figure out what's happening and what's the end goal. So we have CE congruent to FE. So CE is congruent to FE, and I'm going to use little tick marks to represent congruence. Then I have ED is congruent to EG. So ED, I'm going to use two tick marks this time so that I know it's a different congruence than the one tick mark, to EG. And then our end goal is to prove that these two lines are congruent. So my very first statement is actually my given information. So they just took my information and said, hey, this is what you're given, so reason is given. Then my next statement is saying basically the same thing, but the only difference is that instead of a congruent symbol, I have an equal symbol. And the only reason that lets me go from congruence to equal or equal to congruence would be the definition of congruent segments. And as you're doing these proofs, you want to be able to refer to your reasons for proofs document. And if you don't have it next to you, you should. So then for statement 3, I have CE plus ED equals CD. Well, I'm going to go to my picture to see what that really means because I'm not quite sure right now. So I have CE plus ED equals the entire line. That seems like segment addition to me. So that's the segment addition postulate. But then in line 4, I tell you FE plus EG equals CD. Well, in statement 2, I said that CE is the same thing as FE, so I can replace CE with FE. When you replace something, that's called substitution. So I'm substituting CE with FE because in statement 2, I told you that those two things are the same. And then I'm going to do the same thing with ED because I told you that's the same as EG. So I'm going to replace ED with EG. And then I'm going to keep CD because that's the same. So then in statement 5, I'm telling you, hey, FE plus EG equals FG. Well, I'm going to refer to my video because, not to my video, to my diagram. And if I look, FE plus EG equals FG is another segment addition for that other line segment. So now I have two things. I have statement 4 saying that FE plus EG equals CD. And then I have statement 5 saying that FE plus EG equals FG. Well, I have two of the same things. So if these two, F4 and 5, both equal FE plus EG, then CD plus FG must also be congruent because I can basically take this entire left side of the equation and replace it with the letter CD. So whenever you replace something, that's called substitution. And that's almost our end goal. So the only difference is my end goal, my proof, that's my end goal, needs to have a congruent symbol, not an equal symbol. So from 6 to 7, the reason that lets me go from equal to congruent would be the definition of congruent segments, just like statement 2. So now I've completed this proof. Okay, so now I suggest that you try to fill in the question marks on your own and then see if you get the answers I get. Pause your video now. Okay, so please see if you can come up with this answer. Please note that F, the reason of substitution, is actually false. It should say simplify. The book likes to use substitution as a form of substitution, as a form of simplification, but I find that very confusing to students, so I prefer to use the word simplify. A few more things to keep in mind and reasons that will go into our property, into our reasons for proofs document is reflexive, symmetric, and transitive property, which was true for equality, is also true for congruence. So basically what that means is some statements only work when I have an equal sign, and some reasons will only work if I have a congruent sign. So you really need to look at the reasons for proofs document. And in class, we'll study a little more in depth on which one works for which kinds. Then I have the midpoint of a segment. So you need to remember that back in the beginning of the school year in September, we talked about a midpoint. And the midpoint is basically the half of a line. So if I tell you that something is a midpoint of the other, then I can tell you that basically those two things, that line segment is cut in half, and one piece of the line segment will be congruent to the other. This will also be provided in your reasons for proofs document. Please remember to use this document, reasons for proofs, when trying to complete a proof for either in class, on a test, on a quiz, or for your independent practice. It's easier to refer to this document than trying to remember what a reason would be and what it actually means. This can be accessed through your notes document in Google Classroom. If you click on the link in the notes, you would be taken to the document that's updated as you learn new reasons.